Pull up a chair, fill up a plate, come over early, you gon' stay late. Ain't nothing better than music and friends. It's gatherings and guitars.
On today's episode of Gatherings and Guitars, Jennifer sits down with legendary road warrior Jason Eady. They talk about the early seeds that led him to a big crossroads to do music full time, and even talk about his love for exotic foods. It's episode 9 of Gatherings and Guitars.
Hey guys, welcome back to Gatherings and Guitars. And tonight we're so excited to have Jason Eady here at the farm. Jason has been to Bay at the Lake a couple times. You've eaten dinner here at the farm, but
Right.
not played here at the farm. So we're so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Been a year,
It's been about a
little
year.
over a year since you've been
Yeah.
here. So thanks for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so we start out with one of the hardest questions. It's
Okay.
not really hard, but so what is your first memory of like music really stirring you? Or you thinking, yeah, this is important. This is special. This means something to me.
When I was a kid, my dad was a union electrician, and it was in the early 80s, so they would just kind of go wherever the work was, you know, and
Right.
so it was, my sister and I were not in school yet, and so they would just pick up and go, you know, so we would we'd be living in Denver, and he'd go, okay, this work, you know, just randomly one day, this job's over, the next job's in San Francisco next week, you know, and so we would just do that. So we were on the road a lot, and they just always had music.
Always had music, yeah.
And that's exactly where I remember it, because but it was like cassette tape days, you know, and and we only had a few, so we would just listen to the same ones over and over again, and then whatever.
And what were they?
It was Waylon's greatest hits. It was a lot of Willie Nelson.
Yeah. Stardust. That was my favorite album.
This one, I think it was like the Honeysuckle Rose soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was there in that time. And what else? There was an Eagles. But the Waylon and the Willie were Merle Haggard. It was Merle Haggard, yeah. And then also at the same time, there was a group of people, not just them. This was a group of families of us all doing the same thing. And a couple of them played. One was a guitar player and singer, and the other one was a fiddle player. And so we would do the campfire thing. And so to this day, that's still my favorite thing to do. In fact, my tour manager, Matt, says that I play shows in order to just get to do the campfire.
Yeah.
Like campfire is
so
kind of my
cool.
favorite thing still
Yeah.
to this day. You know, just when it gets real informal and you just sit around and play, you know.
Yes. Well, okay, so I'm so glad to know that, because next time you come, we have a huge campfire back there.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll have to do. We'll have to do it in the fall.
Okay.
And do that so that you can do that around the campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so cool. So that's when and how old were you then?
I was probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was young.
Young.
And then the first time, but you know, this is a weird thing to say, but I kind of just always knew I was going to do it.
Really?
It's weird because I never made plans to do it. I just kind of always knew that I was. I don't know how to say that, but you know, I remember being a kid and trying to pick apart, even then, like trying to go, what's making this sound? You know, how is this happening? What's this? Because, you know, when you're as a kid, you just hear this wall of sound coming at you, you know? And so I remember trying to figure out what was doing that. And it was just something I always knew that I would do. And then I started playing really young. I started playing in bars and stuff at 14. My dad had to go take me, you know, he had to escort me in and all that stuff. And
I was playing in bars before I was old enough to drink.
really, yeah.
17, 18,
Yeah. That's all I did. That's the only job I ever had as a teenager. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Cool. So then did you ever have a other job?
Oh, yeah. I was actually a late starter professionally with music. I did that all through my teenage years. And then one day I just thought I was going to Nashville and getting some things were starting to kind of happen, but nobody was wanting me to. I was so young that they were just pitching me songs, and they were horrible songs. It was really bad.
Yeah.
And I just, growing up on Willie and Waylon and Haggard, and I was such a songwriting fan, you know. And I wasn't writing, but I was hoping for good songs. And then I realized the good songs go to the guys that are actually selling records. And, it obviously makes sense. But I just thought, I gotta figure this out. And so I joined the Air Force. I was coming home from Nashville to Jackson, Mississippi, where I live, where I grew up. And it was, I literally was like driving home, and I passed an Air Force recruiter's office and just pulled in, completely not even planned, just pulled in just to see what they would say. And they scheduled a test for me, and I went in, and then they said, well, you can get this job that sounded really cool. And so I just thought, okay, I'll take a break and go do that for 6 years. And then during that time, I got married and had a daughter. So when I got out, I got a job,
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I just kind of thought the music thing was behind me.
Yeah.
And I thought I just kind of missed that window. So I tried to not do it. And then that job moved me to Texas, and that changed everything, because when I got here, it's the independent spirit here is what got me.
Yeah.
I started writing songs again as a hobby. And I was going to open mics as just kind of a stress relief,
Right.
And then I started getting gigs from the open mics, and then it kind of got to the point where I was like, gonna have to decide. And then the ultimate thing, I was 30 years old, and I got offered a really big promotion at work, and I thought, if I take this promotion, this is what I'm doing, And it was like, if I've never faced a now or never crossroads as big as that one before, and I knew it. I said, whatever I do right now is what I'm going to do the rest of my life, you know? And so I quit. I said no to the promotion and quit at 30, and that's 20 years ago now.
Yeah. And you kind of have had some fun, huh?
Oh, it's been great. I don't regret that decision at all.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Now, a word from our sponsors. Hillwood Manor sits on 17 acres north of Dallas-Fort Worth. This serene and beautiful location is the perfect place for your wedding, corporate retreat, and other memory-making events. Trust Hillwood Manor to create an experience of a lifetime. hillwoodmanor.com. Now back to the show. So when you're home, which I know you're not home much,
right?
When you're home, do you have anything that you love to cook?
Yes.
Are you a cook?
I am very much a cook.
Are you a barbecuer?
I'm a late cooker. Like I've just gotten into it in the last 10 years or so. Yeah. I never had much interest in it until the last 10 years. And what really got me into it was more either ethnic foods or kind of like specialty food, foods. Trying to find that. We had a neighbor from India for a while, and so I was like, same thing as music. I was just trying to figure it out. What makes it taste like this, you know? And so got into their bases and spices and all that stuff, and then but I grew up. My big one is I grew up on Cajun food.
Oh yeah.
And so and I grew up around a lot of Cajun cooks and
in Mississippi.
In Mississippi,
really?
Yeah. And so that's the one that I kind of fell back into, and that's what I love now is cooking Cajun food.
So what's your favorite thing?
I make gumbo. That's my favorite one. Yeah, but I do all of them: the etouffees and Creoles and jambalayas and all of that. But yeah, gumbo. I have a festival in Mississippi. This will be the second year that I've done it. It's in November, and one of the things about the festival is that for the first night, I cook gumbo for all the people there. So last year I did 12 gallons, made 12 gallons of gumbo.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I love it.
Is that your first time doing it on a big scale like that?
For sure, yeah. It's
that
different.
was a learning curve.
Yeah, it's different. And so so that was the first time I had to figure out how to
quantify.
How to quantify, but it was fun. I mean, it takes a long time. The roux is the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And for good gumbo, it's it's over an hour. Of stirring.
Yes.
And so I didn't have a pan big enough to do one big batch. So I had to do one batch and then start, a 5-gallon pot and then do another gallon. I had to do that 3 times. So it was 3 hours of just roux stirring.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. I've been catering and cooking for big things for over 20 years. And so, like today, we fed 200 people. Right now, my girls are setting up a catering for 200 people while I'm here doing, for 50. And so it's hard for me to cook for just 2 of us.
Oh, really?
Or just 4 of us.
Yeah. That's funny. I can see that. That's a whole different thing too. How do
It
you scale
is.
it down?
It is.
Right.
It totally is. So, so it was all Cajun food. So is that what your mom and your grandma and your family kind of was based in, that food genre?
Yeah, my mom's side was, and on my mom's side, that was our Christmas dinner. That was our Christmas tradition, was
Okay,
gumbo. And so
gumbo.
Christmas Eve, everybody would gather there, and then we would all take turns stirring the roux. Everybody would take about 10 minutes
I love
at the roux. So
that.
that was the Christmas tradition.
Yeah.
Everybody'd stand around the kitchen, and and when your arm got tired, you passed it off to
Yes.
somebody else. And so that's and my grandmother made the best gumbo, and she never wrote it down. I really wish.
man.
My whole goal with it is to find what she did.
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yes.
close, but there's
Yes.
a flavor in there that's just it's really hard to get.
I'm that way with my dad's sausage gravy.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not quite there, but
Yeah.
I keep trying.
yeah. I want you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We were that way with ice cream growing up. Like at my grandpa, my papa, anytime we were together as a family, not at Christmas, but pretty much the rest of the year, he would make homemade ice cream. But it was the old kind that you had to crank.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We would take turns. The kids would sit on top. The youngest kids would sit on top of the thing and with a towel. You
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah, I remember
and
that.
then the boys would switch out cranking.
Yeah. So my
Yeah.
dad's side, they were all from Jackson, and they were very much the deep South.
Yeah.
Home Southern cooking. And I've never gotten into cooking that I love it, but I've never gotten into cooking that as much. But that was a big. We would sit around. I'll never forget. I mean, I always remember when I was a kid. We would have same kind of gatherings, but some people would be making the ice cream, and other people are snapping peas.
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah,
shelling
yeah.
peas, and
Absolutely.
it was everything was. I miss that. Where it was all about
Yes.
those food gatherings like that.
Absolutely. It's so important. It
Mm-hmm.
really is. And I hate that as a society, we've moved totally away from that.
Yeah.
And that's really what we try to do here at the farm, as far as we try to base the food on what comes out of the ground and what's
Yeah.
made locally, and basic food. We don't do, high-end chef food here.
Right.
We do soul
Yeah.
food and comfort food and
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, because that's of course how I was raised. But I was raised in the garden. I mean,
Yeah.
my grandparents had an acre garden and then a half acre garden on their land, and I lived at their house. I was the baby of 4, and so every weekend I was there, and we were pulling stuff out of the garden. We were canning. We were cutting strawberries. We were making jam. Whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And so I hate that my grandkids don't know that,
Yeah.
So I've tried. I've started.
I just don't know.
We got a good
if-
garden going.
Yeah,
and-
it's hard to get younger people to
Yes,
interested
take
in
the
it.
time.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're just so used to fast.
I know.
It sounds like such an old person thing to say,
I
but
know.
it really is
really
true
is.
though.
It really is.
They just don't. It's just sitting down for something for a long time is not something they're into.
Yeah. We do make it every Sunday, almost every Sunday. Our family gets together and sits and eats lunch or dinner together. And we sit for probably 3, sometimes 4 hours just
Yeah.
visiting and
Yeah, that's great.
over food. It is.
I just got back from Europe. spent 6 weeks over there, and
saw
that's
that.
that's their thing.
Exactly.
I mean, they don't.
That's why I love Italy so much.
Yeah, I mean, a meal is 3 hours.
It is.
and
Yes.
that's even their lunches are. I mean, it's unbelievable.
1 to 4.
And there's no
close
chains. Like
everything down.
everybody has a cook that makes the food, and
Yes.
there's no. They don't have that assembly line thing going over there. It's very much like you find a local restaurant, you sit down, you eat, or somebody cooks for you. But it's an event every
Yes.
day. Every
Yes.
meal is an event.
Yes. And they go to the market every 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
They don't go to Walmart, a big grocery store, and buy groceries for a week or 2 weeks. They
Right.
only buy for that meal or the next day or two,
Right.
And I love that way of life.
Yeah.
So, okay, so when you're cooking and you're making your gumbo, do you always have music playing?
It depends. Sometimes I don't. If I've just gotten off the road, I don't because
don't?
I'm
You
kind of
like-
musiced
you like
out.
quiet.
Like the
Yeah.
quiet is, if I haven't been on the road in a while, then yes, I will. But if I've been on the road, it's kind of like it's too much. It's overload.
Yeah.
Like what I look forward to is
Quiet.
quiet, and cooking's a really good distraction, and and just something else that I like to do. And so I don't know. I try to balance listening to music and not listening to music. I don't want to get burnt out, because my whole life is music. So I don't want to just burn myself out with it. So I try to take time where sometimes I'll do even doing drives, I'll just turn the radio off and just driving quiet.
I do, in silence a lot, a lot. Okay, so when you're cooking, do you have a favorite cocktail or a favorite wine? Or
wine, yeah.
Are
I don't
you a
know
wine
why.
drinker?
I think that's an Italy thing. I was never a wine drinker till we started playing in Europe, and especially Italy, and then you start to figure out what wines are,
That's right.
and same thing, they pair it with each meal, and
Yes.
and then I just kind of learned it over there, and like a good red wine is my go-to
Ditto.
when I'm cooking.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us know like what's coming. What have you got in the works that we get to look forward to?
Well, I'm writing right now for another record. I just put one out last year, and then I've got a lot of just unreleased things that I've recorded over the years. Just a song here, a song there. A lot of acoustic tracks, things like that, and I'm going to be slowly kind of putting those out. It's not anything that would ever be on an album, but I'm just going to start kind of trickling those out. And then in the meantime, I'm writing for the next full album, and so that will come out next year, 25.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same process as writing a book.
Yeah, I bet.
It's hurry up and then wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. It's a lot of this first book that's coming out has been 4 years in the making, but truly hardcore working. It will be almost exactly a year, just over a year from the time I was working on diligently I went to Colorado, worked really hard to try to get, everything, the writing done on it. And then putting it together and finishing up. By then, I'd already done all the photography. You've got months of all that stuff, but it just takes so long.
It does.
It's been a very frustrating. This is my first one, so it's been a very frustrating process for me, and I've learned so much. On the front end that I think the second one will go a lot faster.
Yeah,
but,
I bet.
Yeah.
So I've got a question for you. So when you're when you're writing, oh man, hang on. Forgot what my question was. It was good too. Oh man, it was good. It completely went out of my brain. It was right there.
I go to Colorado, and I was working, and I did some hardcore writing. Like every morning, I would get up, and I would start at 6 because we went with some friends, and I mean we want to have fun, and I want to go hike, and I want to do all those things. But I would get up at 6, and I'd go on the back porch next to the river where then they left me alone, and I would write from 6 to 12.
Yeah.
I would sit there for 6 hours and just really try to get as much as I could out.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a momentum thing? Like if you stopped for a while, do you get better the more you get into it?
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
And for me and my creativity, because I've written a lot of songs. I mean, I did the music thing for years, and so I've done that creative side too. But for me, and I don't know if it's more my age or what, but for me to have concentrated time to get it done works way better than I'm gonna take every Wednesday, be at the farm, and I'm gonna work on the book.
Yeah.
It works way better for me to go away.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna have to be disciplined. I'm gonna do this every day for a week, and let's see what we get out of that.
Yeah. I'm the same way with songwriting. If I try to just say I'm going to write a song a week, or it doesn't work.
It doesn't.
I'm very much like what I just said. I mean, my goal this summer is to write. Like this is writing summer. I'm kind of I don't have as many shows, but I have to write in chunks like that because I get on a roll. And the first few that I write, even coming up, will not be good.
Right. Exactly.
And they're just kind of to get the wheels turning.
Yes.
And then they'll slowly, and then they kind of get to the point where they just fall out. But it's a momentum thing, which everybody has to find their own.
Yeah. Do you mostly write alone? Or do you write?
Yes,
Do you do
I
well with other
co-write.
people?
The only time I co-write is if I'm stuck. Like I try to finish them all on my own, and then if I get stuck, I'll take them to other people. But or vice versa, people will bring them to me.
Yeah.
You know, but I very rarely just sit down with a blank piece of paper in a room with somebody and go, okay,
Really?
let's go.
Let's
And
go.
I think I've done that twice ever, and
Yeah.
I don't know that we've ever kept any of them. But,
Right.
Yeah. I would rather finish them,
Mm-hmm.
Myself. But the ones that I have co-written, I always like the final. When it works, the final product is better than what I would have done myself.
Yeah.
So there is a
Well, because you've got two creative brains working from two different views.
right.
And I mean, everything I've written music wise has been with other people. And I think a lot of that was maturity. I was way younger and didn't have the, I think I don't think you're quite as old as me. I don't know, but but we have a whole lot more experience to pull from now than I did in my 20s,
Right.
and early 30s. So at that point, it was way easier for me to get juices flowing with somebody, throwing ideas and well, what about this or what about this? But yeah, the book itself, and I know now. If I was songwriting, I would be in the same boat as you. It would be easier for me to do it alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm jealous of the book thing. I want to do that in some
do it.
form one day.
You will. You
Yeah.
will. My grandfather, when he passed, we found a really cool, letter, if you want to call it a letter, I don't know, that he had left in his typewriter. And he didn't know he was going to pass. I mean, he wasn't sick. And he passed, and we found it 3 days later. And in it, he talked about, I always felt I had a book inside me, and I hate that I never got it out. He said, and I feel that everyone has one inside of them.
I can see that.
Yeah. So I have that printed and framed, and it's over there.
Yeah.
And so I'm so glad that I got one out.
Yeah, that's it's so great. I mean, but it's a different. It's kind of like what we were saying about the younger kids. Like I'm the younger in that situation. I'm the same. Like my attention span in writing is to write a 3-minute song.
Right.
To sit down and write a book seems like a whole other level of attention span that I don't know that I have.
Well, but it's chapters. It's breaking up. I didn't write a novel. Lord, I can't imagine that. I can't imagine. This is stories that are broken up about, about one experience, which was actually kind of like writing a song.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So when you look at it in pieces rather than the whole, it's very doable.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out and talking to us.
Yeah,
and
thanks for
letting
having
us
me.
see inside of you.
Yeah,
a little bit.
congratulations. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
excited
it'll
for
be
you.
good. It'll be good. So y'all, thanks so much for joining us and listening and hanging out today. And we'll see you on the next one.
Old man from the mountains coming home, home, home. Thought I'd better warn you, so I called you on the phone. Get rid of your grinder, better be there alone. Old man from the mountains coming home. Well, I've been working my head off all for $1 bill. Now I need a bunch of good love, and so I'm coming down a hill. I don't want no friendly Hendrix poking around my bed. And the old man from the mountain means what he said. Well, old man from the mountain's coming home, home, home. He's a woman. Just take a look at my face and make no mistake. Well, it's always a woman to lose. He's going home to Jesus. God don't make me go back to Jackson. The sky turns black every time I do. Yeah, I thought about you for a little while. Yeah, I guess I still do now and then. If only this had been another time, girl, baby, it might just break me down. Pull up a chair, fill up a plate, come over early, you gon' stay late. Ain't nothing better than music and friends. It's gatherings and guitars.